Being smart and intelligent might actually be the thing that is holding you back and what is ruining your life. Now, this video is for the overachiever, the straight A student. If you were like me, if I was writing a subject, then I'm going to be the best at it. If I was joining a club, then I was going to be the best at it. And if you grew up your whole entire life being told how smart you are, how you would absolutely win the world when the time came, then this video is for you, because you get to a certain stage, just like me, where you realize that the rules have changed and now you're an adult. You've been taken out of the environment where you used to excel, and you think that that is going to transfer into the real world, but at the end of the day you start to feel like you're behind everyone else. It's hard for you to understand, and bear in mind that you are the type of person who has never experienced failure, and you and failure are not well acquainted. You're not good at picking yourself up because you've never had to. You've always excelled at everything. Everything that you touched turned to gold. On my channel, I like to be vulnerable. I like to be raw and unfiltered. This is not the channel where you come if you want aesthetics. This is where we face reality as it is. And the reality for me at the moment is that as an overachiever being thrown into the adult world, I'm finding myself struggling. I'm finding myself not being able to understand, because I think I've always been told that I was going to be successful, and I internalized that. And now when I come into the world and I'm met with failure for the first time, and I'm trying things and failing for the first time, I am in shock. It's a shock to my system, and I don't know how to handle it. And if you feel that way, first of all, I'd like to say you are not alone. And that's the first thing that we need to get out of the way. Now I'll go into the reasons as to why smart people fail, and hopefully from this video you can learn what to do about it. And I'll definitely be doing a sequel on this video to get better and better at mastering the real world as smart people. Reason number one is perfectionism. Now, because we are used to excelling at things, we want everything to be perfect before it goes out into the world. If it's a project at work, if it's a side project, if it's a relationship, we want things to be perfect. The problem is that we analyze things and we know what is good and what is not good. So if you write one paragraph of a poem, you know that this is not good, and so you end up just throwing it in the trash, and you don't publish it because you know that this is nonsense, right? But that's the problem, is that because we're so good at identifying good things because of our analytical skills, is that we don't allow ourselves to be average. So that is something that will work against you, because you're not wanting to be average means that you're not going to write the draft. You're not going to put out mediocre work. But sometimes you do need to put out the mediocre work. I see it with myself with a YouTube channel. I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I never wanted to start. I needed the perfect lighting, I needed the perfect camera and all of this. And sometimes I'd be watching YouTube and I'll see a video that is so below average, but it has thousands of views and it's thousands of comments, and I'm like, this video is terrible. This person didn't edit. This person doesn't sound natural at all. I could do better than this, but I'm not doing it. Why? Because for me, it has to be perfect before it goes out into the world, because I had to get the iPhone before I could start filming. I had to do this before I could start filming. So at the end of the day, as intelligent people, you will realize that there's people who are way less talented that are doing the things that we could be doing better, because we're not allowing ourselves to be average. Because other people don't worry so much about it looking really polished and really finished. So you need to shift your goalpost from it needs to be perfect to it needs to be finished. That's all that it has to be. It has to be finished. It has to be, write your draft, write your bed poem, write one paragraph for the day. That's enough. You don't have to write the whole story. You need to minimize the goal that you're giving yourself. That is the only way that you will execute, is minimize the goal. For example, if you want to clean your room, don't give yourself this big task of like, I want to clean my room. No. If you want to start a YouTube channel, don't be like, I want to be Mr. Beast. No, what you need is to Get an imperfect phone, imperfect lighting, hit record. Record something that's just 5 minutes long and post it out into the world and let yourself grow from that. Don't compare yourself already to the people that have already made it, because you know that this is not a good video and that is working against you because you know it's not a good video and you're like, this is not suitable for human consumption. But let me tell you something. There is someone out there who's going to watch that video. There's someone out there who's going to like your project, your clothing design, whatever it is that you need to do. There is an audience out there for literally everyone, because you see it every day. People doing mediocre work, below average work, people who are not talented at all, but they're consistent and they keep going and they're doing way better than us. And so that's something that we need to look at. Shift your goalposts. I do need you to stick around for reason number 5, because I think that is the one that we need to concentrate most on for us to pivot and actually become more productive as smart people. Now, moving on to reason number 2. Most of us are introverts. And that doesn't sound like a bad thing, but however, that means that we cannot stand small talk. That means that when we are having a social interaction, we cannot stay on the surface. We want to have deep conversations, or else nothing. Like, we'd rather stay quiet than to have a conversation about the weather. We'd rather not have the social interaction at all if it's going to be lukewarm or if it's not leading to anything. We need things to have a purpose. We cannot talk just for talking. Like, we cannot just talk to somebody on the train if we're never going to meet that person again. What's the point? Everything with us, there needs to be a point. There has to be a reason. So we don't do well. Most of us don't do very well socially. However, the prizes, the promotions don't always go to the smartest working person. They go to the person who can talk themselves up. Okay, so that means a lot of the times you will see at work there's somebody who's employed and they're not that good at their job, but they're the favorite. They barely do much and they quite possibly suck, but everybody loves them and they're just like, they're the personality hire. There's people at work that stay employed because they have charisma, because when they walk into the room lights up and it's lively. And we were taught to keep our heads down and work hard. And then when you get into the real world and you realize that you are working harder than somebody else and that the person is going ahead of you, you don't understand what's happening, because you're clearly on working harder than this person, and to you it's just like you're flabbergasted and you just don't understand why you're not the favorite, because you're clearly doing most of the work, why you're not the highest paid because you're doing most of the work, because that's not how the world works. Okay, so networking is a big part of how the real world works. Okay, sometimes you get into a position because of who you know. Sometimes you get promoted because you managed to talk yourself up. Sometimes you get promoted because you did the bare minimum, but you presented yourself well. Look at, for example, interviews, right? In the interview, the person who's getting the job is the person who knows how to speak, darling. It's not the person that has the A. It's not the person that knows how to differentiate and integrate. They hardly look at your grade. It becomes irrelevant what grades you got. It's how you present yourself and how you can articulate yourself. So we do need to make more of an effort. Unfortunately, we do need to make more of an effort to try and be more social, to try and increase our network, to try and just talk about the weather. Reason number 3, we have mastered a system that is now invalid. We became masters of the school system. The school system had structure, there was fairness, there was direction, there was a marking scheme. Everyone knew what the answer was. If the answer is A, the answer is A. Everyone had the same tools and all you had to do was read your books. There was a path to which you could follow. They tell you this is the path. If you walk on it in this way and that, you will get to the answer. And then you get to the real world and that doesn't work at all. If there's a trust fund baby who's failed in school, their father gives them $10,000, $100,000, they start a business and then they're now ahead of you. And so when you then try to work harder to try and beat the trust fund baby, you're bound to be depressed because you're working harder than this person and this person is ahead of you. Why? Because you started at -10 and they started at 0, and there is just no fairness in the world. Then that's just how the world is structured. Someone who's born in Somalia is definitely going to struggle compared to somebody who's born in the United States. There's nothing they can do about where they were born. It's just how the world works. Now, what do we do about that? Because that is slightly depressing to think that there's nothing that we can do about the unfairness that is in the world. The first thing that we need to do is acceptance. Okay, so if there is, I do find myself sometimes being angry at nepo babies and just being unable to accept that they are ahead of me or whatever. And the first thing that you need to do is just to accept it, that this is the situation. This person is ahead of you. They did not work harder than you, but they're ahead of you, right? So you need to find that acceptance in you to say, this is how the world works. There's some things that are outside of my control: where you were born, who your parents were, what you had when you were starting, and where you started off. Definitely you have no power over that, and so you need to sort of let go of that and just accept that this is what it is. But we don't just accept it and stay there, because that leads to stagnation. We accept it and then we adapt, whatever that looks like in your industry. We need to let go of what we've always been taught. If you were taught that the way for you to succeed is for you to become a doctor, now this is the point where the adaptation comes in thinking, right, is this what's making me money? Is this thing making me money? This thing that I've studied so hard for, is it making me money? Is it what I want to do? Now there comes the hard thing, is that like adapting may mean getting rid of the thing that you worked for. You know, whatever that might look like for you, it may look like an entire career change. Okay, it may look like befriending the person who has the resources. You are an introvert. You're not suddenly going to wake up with thousands of friends. Just answer one text. Start from there. You're not going to suddenly wake up and just be very, very loud and outspoken. Go to the party, but go for 30 minutes instead of the 2 hours that they're proposing. Whatever adaptation looks like in your situation, that's what you need to master in small steps. Don't overwhelm yourself, because you will not get to the finishing point and you will not execute if it's overwhelming. Okay, so if you are trying to grow your social network or to advertise your business, you can suddenly start going to social networking events every day, because you're not gonna survive the year. No, you go to one event. At that one event, you talk to a certain number of people. You give yourself a target, and you dip, and you go to what you're moving, like what you really want to do. So you need to sit down and think, in my situation, in my industry, what does adaptation look like to fit my personality and to mostly the sunk cost. You may need to throw it out the window. The thing that you've been holding dear, you may need to say, this degree is not taking me where I need to go. Maybe I need to learn how to do sales, or maybe I need to stop using the degree at all. You need to be able to adapt, whatever that looks like in your lane. Now, the last reason, and this one is near and dear to my heart because it breaks my heart, but here's the reality. Most of us worked hard at the wrong thing. We climbed the ladder aggressively and we realized we were climbing the wrong building entirely. Now, what can that look like for you? It can look like you going to medical school for 7 years or 10 or whatever it is now, and realizing you hate medicine. You cannot stand being a doctor. Okay, and I had to say doctor because most of the doctors who are in this situation, because we grew up being told, you're so intelligent, you're going to be a doctor, our little doctor. And that was your little nickname growing up, is that you were going to be a doctor. So you thought, oh, that means I need to be a doctor. And then you did not even stop to think about anything else. When you went to college, you picked that degree and you studied medicine for 10 years, and now you're in it. Now you've worked so hard, you've put so much effort, they've paid for your fees, maybe you've traveled abroad, people are so proud of you. It's too late to turn back. And with our situations is that most of us, we worked really hard to get into the places where we needed to be. If you wanted to be a lawyer, accounting, the things that we were told we were good at are really hard things. So we had to study study extra hard. We had to do, maybe even pay extra fees. It was just more work. Now, the problem with that is that you start to think of the work that you've put in. When you want to turn back, you think of the distance that you've traveled. Because if you studied medicine for 10 years and then somebody has studied a course for 6 months, if somebody did a hairdressing course for 6 months and they decide they don't want to be a hairdresser, it's very easy for them to be like, this is not for me. They turn back and try something else. You, because you've spent 6 years or 7 years, you start to think, oh, surely I cannot go back and try and do something else, because that would mean that the 6 years was for nothing. So most of us are really deep, and it's hard for us to claw our way out of the golden cages that we've built for ourselves. Because the reality is that there's accountants out there that would make good fashion designers, that will make great DJs, but the idea of giving up on 10 years of work or 15 years of work to start becoming, a hairdresser or whatever, is just, it's difficult for somebody to accept that all that hard work can just be thrown away. But I will give you this analogy. Let's say you were going to the shop, and then halfway to the shop, somebody told you that the shop was closed. Would you continue walking to the shop just because you're halfway? You might as well just go to the shop. You know the shop is closed, but you're halfway to the shop. You might as well just go to the shop so that you can say you've reached the shop and then come back. Or would you turn back? Now, the logical answer is that you would just turn back. But that is difficult for us to do in our real lives, because what that looks like really is maybe breaking up with the person that you've been in a relationship with for 7 years. What that looks like is a complete new degree. What that looks like is completely giving up on so much hard work and redirecting your life. I'll give you an example of this person that is one of my idols on YouTube, and his name is Ali. He used to be a doctor, and now he stopped everything that he was doing, and then he started a YouTube channel, and he's doing amazing. He stopped being a doctor and became a YouTube channel, and had his YouTube channel. Now, the thing about us is that we are fast learners. And because we're perfectionists, once we do get started, we do really well, right? So because if you use your doctor brain and you're coming into an industry where most of the people are just kind of winging it, because you've got your IQ at 50,000, you're gonna excel. But you need to get that bravery to turn back because the shop is closed. Yes, you are halfway there, but turn back because the shop is closed. Now, there's bills to be paid, so we don't want you to be homeless. So what that can look like is you saying, okay, I'm a lawyer, but this is not what I want to do. This doesn't even make that much money. Maybe a little side course while I'm at it. Maybe a little, weekend side hustle while I'm at it. We need to just cut our losses, unfortunately. This video is getting a little too long. Please watch out for part 2. Do like, do subscribe, and just look out for that video. If you put your little notification bell on, you'll see the videos as they come in. Now, I say this channel is for raw, it's for unfiltered, it's for the people that want realistic content. So if that is your vibe, please do like and subscribe and become part of the family.